Hello YouTubers, and as you can see I'm in the vrspies.com newsroom. We're just getting it fitted out. It's a little bit blank at the moment. Someone's shut the door, I can't seem to get out. These things happen, right? So it's a special video today. I'm going to talk to you about a very important subject. Of course, some of you may have pre-ordered the Oculus. Some of you are hanging on for Vive. Well, you've got Monday to decide, right? So Monday you get to pre-order the Vive, and if you've already pre-ordered an Oculus, you can actually cancel without losing any deposit and actually change your mind. So you guys I feel really sorry for, actually me as well, because I've got to make this decision on Monday. Do I order a Vive or not? If only there was a way you could outsource this decision to some bumbling middle-aged Englishman who will give you all of the facts in a charming way so you can make that decision. Well, today's your lucky day, because I'm going to do that. I'm going to do just that. So just you hang in there. We'll get through this together. The pros and cons of Vive versus Oculus. Let's do this. First of all, people have said to me in comments that this is a little bit like the VHS versus Betamax debate back in the 70s. I can understand the point, but it really kind of isn't. Now, Sony actually lost the whole Betamax thing because they refused to license their format to porn. VHS, well, they weren't so moralistic about it, and they went ahead and licensed, and everybody bought VHS because everybody likes porn. Not me, of course. I'm a gentleman. So, in short, I mean, VR, there's no such quandaries and problems there. They both do porn. Porn's everywhere. It's porn central over here in VR land. Anyway, let's stop talking about porn. It's all rather sordid, isn't it? Makes us rifters look incredibly creepy. And, you know, I don't want to look any creepier, right? Right, anyway, interesting fact. You know, Betamax actually launched 40 years ago. Yeah, pretty much this year. So here's a question for you. When do you think Sony stopped manufacturing Betamax tapes? Are you ready for this? I'm going to put up some question options here. Multiple choice. Is it 1, 1983? Is it 2, 1991? Is it 3, 1997? Or is it D? It's a trick question. They haven't stopped manufacturing them, and they're actually still manufacturing Betamax tapes to this day. Well, yes, there you go, it's D. So D, amazingly, they're actually planning to stop manufacturing Betamax tapes in March. Wow, what a tangent. How the hell do I get to these things? Anyway, let's talk about software. So, Steam is a great company. Everyone loves Steam. They're just a big, cuddly, huggable company, aren't they? They're so great. And, well, being a great company, they've released Steam VR. Steam VR is an open platform. God, you guys are awesome. Now, that's the point, though. People are getting really hung up on the idea of HTC Vive being a collaborative HMD with Steam. And I've got a Steam library. I've got hundreds of games in there that I never play. And I want to make sure that my VR headset works with my Steam library. Well, guess what? It's not just the HTC Vive that's going to work with your Steam library. Everything's going to work with it. The Oculus, the OS VR, anything. Well, apart from PlayStation VR, but we won't talk about that. It really makes no difference. So, here's the flip side of it. Unfortunately, Oculus, well, they've got Oculus Store. And Oculus Store is a closed store. Only the Oculus device will work with software from the Oculus Store. So here's the problem. I don't agree with that, by the way. I think the whole idea of making HMDs turn PCs into some kind of console war is an absolute bloody nightmare. I talk about this with Greg quite a lot. It's just something that Greg, me, the VR Spies, we're all vehemently against this. It's horrendous. But here's the problem, right? As much as I don't particularly want to support that way of thinking, I can go with the Vive or OS VR and have access to only Steam VR games. I could go for Oculus and have access to Steam VR games and the Oculus Store. That's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, for me? If I want to access the most content, I have to go with Oculus, and that's just the way it is. I don't like it, but it's the way it is. Now let's talk a bit about the hardware. So Oculus Touch is coming a little bit later in the year. And the HTC wireless controllers are going to be available in the box on day one. So basically when these things ship in roughly April, we think, you'll be able to play with them straight away. And man, do they look awesome. They look fantastic. But you've got to remember, they are pretty much exactly the same functionality. The way they work, they basically work the same as Oculus Touch. So as two functional devices, they're basically the same. Now, you could argue that HTC putting these things in the box from day one isn't necessarily a big tick in the box for HTC Vive. You could say maybe Oculus pulling back and saying, this technology is not quite there yet, we need to improve the battery life, we need to improve some of the software, or whatever it is they're trying to do, so they're going to wait, they're going to make it better, they're going to make it consumer ready, versus HTC Vive. HTC Vive, who've bundled this in and they're shipping it out. HTC Vive, who have been sort of accused of rushing this to market. Now, if you look at the company behind the Vive, of course, HTC, well, they're not doing too well. I get to that in a little bit later as a pro and con, but you see where I'm going with this, okay? Now, the other side of this is when we talk about hardware, we've got the technology that's used to track, because the devices do use different methods. The result is the same, and it's phenomenal. The ability to kind of track your movement, track your head, track your hands, it just works so well, and I've tried both of them. They're brilliant. So one of them uses a camera, just like my Oculus Rift DK2, a camera that looks for little dots of infrared light, and it tracks based on that. The other, HTC Vive, shoots infrared laser beams around the room. Now, I don't want to get all kind of, think of the children about this, but think of the children. I really don't want my kids to walk into the room, stare into the box and say, "Where's the laser, Dad?" and then end up blind. Now, you might think that's crazy. It can't be that dangerous. Yes, it is. Infrared lasers are a health hazard. They're not good for you. If you accidentally stare at these things, then you might end up hurting your eyes very badly. The problem is you don't know you're staring at infrared laser beams because you can't see them. That's the problem. I work in the telco industry. The first thing they tell you before going into a data center, as apart from all the static hazard stuff, is watch out for infrared laser ports, fiber ports with the plugs, little covers off them, because basically they're shooting out infrared lasers and it will hurt you. So we have to be very careful about that in our industry, and I feel we have to be very careful with that in this new early adopter technology, because never assume that this stuff is good for you. I really don't think it is. Okay, let's talk about room scale. Now, it's very important to point out here, the very first demo I tried on the Oculus Rift, the CV1 effectively, was a Surgeon Simulator ER, and it was set up as room scale. They had a couple of cameras. They were able to track me walking around a 2x2 meter space. I was leaning, jumping, ducking, lying down pretty much, and it worked perfectly. It was room scale VR. It works as room scale VR. People are confused on this subject because Palmer Luckey kind of played it down a little bit. He said, room scale VR, well, what's that all about? I actually prefer a seated experience. He wasn't saying it couldn't do it. It can do it. And you're probably thinking, but look at hover junkers. That looks so amazing. Oh, wow, I must buy a Vive. Look at the small print. That will work on the Oculus Rift as well. So, the fact that they're loading their guns with the Vive wireless controller, and you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to buy a Vive. I completely understand, because day one, you can't use hover junkers. Hover junkers is only going to be on HTC Vive until basically the Oculus Touch comes out, which is a little later in the year. So, okay, there's that, right? So, don't argue the room scale point, because room scale will work with both of them. And this comes back to my earlier point about, the devices. I forgot to mention this, in fact, is that in order to shoot little infrared laser beams across the room, you have to have moving parts. Now, with the Rift, it's a camera looking for infrared light. With the HTC Vive, it's a spinning moving part. Now, okay, they use very sophisticated little spinny motory doohickeys, actually the same ones that are in hard drives, I believe. And so they're very resilient, and they will last for maybe a couple of years. Who knows? Maybe 6 months. Maybe 5 years. We don't know. The fact is, these things have moving parts, and they are prone to fail. And really, that's another reason I'm not so keen on the whole lighthouse shooting laser technology doohickey thing. So let's talk about comfort. Now, this is a bit of an arguable one. I always thought that the Rift was a more comfortable object. Now, admittedly, I haven't tried the Vive Pre, and the Vive Pre, they may have vastly improved the comfort, but I found the Oculus to be better. I think really we can call that one a draw, because some people say that the Vive is more comfortable for them, the shape of their nose or the shape of their face. For me, the Oculus was more comfortable. Maybe I've got a weird nose. I don't know. You be the judge of that. So, looks-wise, I'm sorry, Oculus has it for me. The HTC Vive is just a weird looking kind of face hugger device. Looks kind of, well, futuristic in a kind of creepy way. The Rift looks sort of more casual and really kind of conceals the vast amount of technology within it. So that's a plus. Okay, we're going to talk about company stability. Now let's talk about Facebook and HTC. I tell you what, no, let's not talk about it. Here's a chart. Do you understand that chart? I'm not a financial genius, but I'm guessing that the downward slope, that's bad. The upward slope, that's good. What I'm getting at is HTC is a massively failing company. They're effectively, no one really expected them to last very long a few months ago, and they're just sort of bouncing along the bottom. The problem with a company that's hitting hard times, and I feel terribly for the people who work at HTC, is they must be chopping back employees, reducing their operational expenditure, and not investing in development. These are the first things that companies that are struggling do. They chop back. They get rid of all those expensive employees who, let's face it, do all the important work. Now, I am a little worried about this fact. There was a rumour that they would break away the VR part of the business and have the Vive as a separate company. And of course, the shareholders for HTC were like, come on, what the hell? We want some value here. And of course, then HTC turned around and completely denied it, which of course they would. So let's see what happens there, right? You've got a company that's struggling, really kind of behind this device. And that kind of worries me a little bit. Okay, so I've covered all the major points there, so let's just recap. We've got the hardware reliability. That goes to Oculus. It has no moving parts, and it hasn't been rushed to market. Now, you can argue the point here, and I'm sure you will in the comments. You'll call me a goddamn liar who has no facts straight about this at all, and that's fine. And please do argue with me. I enjoy your comments. Now, let's talk about software availability. Now, software availability, it has to be Oculus for the reasons I mentioned. Oculus has Oculus Store plus Steam VR. HTC Vive has Steam VR. Room scale support, it's a draw. They both do it, okay? So let's not get hung up on that too much. Quality and comfort, let's call that a draw. It's arguable. I personally fall more on the side of Oculus with that one, but we'll call it a draw because it's really a kind of personal preference, shape of the face thing. Wireless controllers has to go to HTC, of course. HTC are going to have those in the box on day one, and you'll be able to play with that fantastic bit of kit, and they do look brilliant. On the price, let's face it, it's a draw. The HTC is more expensive than the Oculus Rift, but the Oculus Rift Touch is not out yet, and when you add them all together, the whole total cost of ownership is going to be roughly similar. It's going to be sort of $50 each way, right? So let's talk about evilness. Evilness. Well, I guess HTC wins there, right? HTC Steam with, the Mark Zuckerberg, the Dark Master to Palmer Luckey's apprentice. I joke, of course, but you can imagine, well, I don't know, Palmer's looking more and more kind of commercially focused and money orientated every time I see him in a video. It kind of makes me laugh, really. We get it, you're rich, Palmer, well done. So yeah, kind of evilness. Let's give it to HTC/Steam for that one. And future proofness of the technology, we have to really give that to Oculus, right? Because the HTC company itself is appearing to go down the toilet very, very slowly. So now the verdict. I think really the verdict is, if you really, really want to play with those amazing sweet controllers on day one, then great. The Vive is very tempting. I think based on quality, availability of software, the heritage of the Oculus device, I say Oculus wins. And I have had to go through this whole process, and I'm really sharing my thoughts with you because I've had to go through this process. I really had no idea which one I was going to go for. I was tearing my hair out. I mean, look. See, a little bald spot there. And I finally came down on the side of Oculus because I can't own both. There's no point owning both at all. And I run a VR channel. There's just no point me doing it. And I can't justify it, not even for the channel. So Oculus wins. Now, I guess you can buy your Vive. If you literally cannot stand the concept of, buying something and effectively lining the pockets of Mark Zuckerberg, buying him another ivory back scratcher to pleasure Palmer as they sit in an ivory-clad bathhouse full of goat's milk. perusing idly your last holiday photos and laughing at pictures of your girlfriend. If you can't stand that thought, then of course buy the Vive, and you're probably an idiot if you believe all of that. Rich people are basically just like us, but with loads of money. The bastards. Anyway, if you are willing to provide Facebook with your life story, and this is my point about Facebook and how they're not actually that evil, but if you're willing to provide all of your data to them, and then you're like, oh no, they know I have hemorrhoids, and now they're trying to sell me a topical cream to put on my hemorrhoids, wah, 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 wah. Oh, I'm hungry. Please pass me that chocolate bar made by a company that markets baby milk into third world countries. Third world countries without clean water or sterilisation equipment. So these same companies that are killing babies, tens of thousands a year. Oh, I love chocolate. Yum, 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 yum. Just stop being a hypocrite. We are all basically part of the same capitalist society, right? And capitalism is based on exploitation. Facebook just kind of cuts out the middleman in a weird way, cuts out the complexity. It both provides a service to and exploits from its user base. Now, if you don't like it, of course, you can use Google+. Of course, you realise you can't. Despite not being evil, Google+ does exactly the same things with your data. And Steam do it. Steam look at your library and they try to market stuff to you. Facebook, let's face it, are not that evil. Anyway, saying that, I've gone through the whole kind of, oh God, I hate Facebook, I'm going to do a status update. Hello, everybody. I'm leaving Facebook. You'll miss me when I'm gone. Ah! Kind of virtual suicide thing, and then 6 months later I come crawling back and I'm like, oh, hi guys, I missed you. So we've all done that, right? And no one really likes Facebook. Okay, I get that. But, I hate the fact they're trying to market me hemorrhoid cream. And just think, in the old days, when people wanted to sell direct to you, there was none of this little banner advert popping up in the corner of your TV screen. It would be people knocking on your door saying, hey, do you want to buy some encyclopedias? A bloke walking in with a bucket full of dust, chucking it on your carpet in order to hoover it up to sell you a hoover. I mean, to be honest, I think I'll just take the banner ads, don't you think? So there you go. So Oculus wins, and you're probably thinking, no, Oculus can't win. They're owned by Facebook. Facebook are evil, and you're hovering over the dislike button. Well, don't you press that dislike button. Because everyone wins, right? Everyone wins. I'm nitpicking here. The VR units that are coming out are phenomenal. They're going to be great. Whichever one you pick, Vive or Oculus, or indeed OSVR, I can't leave them out. They're brilliant and modular and more environmentally friendly and upgradable, and they have all kinds of open source wondrousness. So, all these great technologies are coming out, and whichever one you pick, it's going to be great fun. PlayStation VR, also going to be really great fun. And, I'm not going to be elitist about it. I'm not going to be a fanboy about it. VR is what I'm here for, and VR is what I'm going to keep promoting and evangelizing, not any specific platform. Let's not make this a PC console war. Let's not make it that, because that's what they want. That's what the man wants. So anyway, oh, yeah, I can hear that we've got a report coming in from our VR spy in the field, Mr. Caleb Eubanks. And let's go straight over to you in Missouri.
You think I can't get somebody to replace your job? Huh? You think your job's irreplaceable? Hey, here we are. UKRifter, that is right. Everything you say is correct. We have confirmed reports out here in the field that everything UKRifter says is correct 100%. Back to you.
Thank you, Caleb. That's it. That's my news report. I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.
You know what? You know what's funny? This mic isn't even connected to anything. That's right. It's a dummy line. And if you thought I was talking in this microphone, then you're a dummy. Because this microphone ain't even plugged into anything. That's right.